I will call the Village of Cottage Grove Library Board meeting on Wednesday, March 19th, 2025, to order. We do have a quorum, and the agenda was properly posted. So it's the public's opportunity to speak. You want to speak? So we can discuss and consider the minutes from the February 19th, 2025 board meeting, which are linked in the agenda.
Oh my gosh.
I move that we approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
Second.
All right, there's a motion by Megan and a second by JP. Is there any more discussion? Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. We have no presentations to the library board. We have no old business. We have no new business. So we will go right into a programming report, which includes 3 items tonight, which is obviously discuss programming. So Tracy will give an update on the current status of the library programming in Cottage Grove. We're going to discuss and give direction to Tracy for summer programming. Again, we kind of chunk out the year into 3 different planning sessions. And then discuss the STEAM collaboration, which I think Tracy and I have touched base on, and we have a plan moving forward, but we just wanted to update the board on. The program tracker is linked as a PDF in the agenda as well, which is what we have in front of us tonight.
Correct.
So Tracy.
What I just passed around is the programs from last summer, so I'll talk about that second. But first, you have the programming tracker, so you can see attendance here. A couple.
Tracy, just bring the mic down a little.
Oh, too high. A couple programs to highlight. The Lego event was very successful. It's our second time doing it, and we received quite a bit of feedback that it is now an event that people look forward to, and they practice it at home after they leave. So I think it's overall very well received. Same thing with Teddy Bear Sleepover at the EMS. That was our 4th time doing that. Again, it's just kind of become an institution for the library board and a great way for us to collaborate with public safety. And then I wanted to also mention the Medicare program had 8 people attend, which I think is pretty good for an adult-focused event. And each of the people, especially the 4 or 5 people in person, were able to get one-on-one Medicare advice from the experts. So that was a successful one. There's a couple cool programs happening next week. On Monday, we have a slime party. So basically like the makerspace, but slightly more organized with tons of additives and glow-in-the-dark formulas and colors. So everybody should come and bring their kids to that. And then on Thursday, the Wisconsin Historical Society is going to be doing a presentation about genealogy and how to research your family ancestry with their collection in particular, the Wisconsin Historical Society. Looking forward, April, of course, is pretty well planned out, but I wanted to give an update on the Earth Day series. So as you all know, for the last 3 years, the Friends of the Cottage Grove Library have hosted the Earth Day with Your Friends event in the school forest. The library board leadership and the Friends leadership kind of went back and forth on the best way to handle that this year. So we decided to forego the big event, which is very resource intensive and labor intensive, and do a bunch of smaller series of events throughout the 2 weeks at the end of April. So I'm organizing 4 events, and the Friends are organizing 1 event, and together we're calling it the Earth Day with Your Friends series. So there's a program about DDT and how Wisconsin activists eliminated it. The Friends are organizing a Badger talk about Aldo Leopold and how much he loved birds. I'm doing Earth Day story time in the forest with a craft by the pond. We have Pelletary Waste Services talking about recycling and how to be the best possible recycler in the village of Cottage Grove. And then the last one is birding with babies at McCarthy Youth Park, so that's geared towards the little ones. And we have a baby wearing expert who's going to bring a bunch of different carriers for new parents to try. So come to those if you can, promote those if you can. That would be great. Any questions about the programming list coming up in April?
Stanley Temple is the one that's giving the talk about Elda Leopold. He was one of my college professors, and I highly recommend.
Yeah, Cassie Mordini has a personal relationship with him, so she was able to secure that. And it's also a Saturday morning, too, which is kind of a new programming time for adult-focused programming for us. So that'll be interesting to see if that draws in more people during that window. Any questions? No? And then May, of course, is pretty light. That's usually the summer planning month. So with that, let's talk about summer. So what I just handed out is a list of our programs from last summer. We talked about this last time, but we had a pretty heavy focus on STEM-based programs. We did quite a few nature-based programs. We collaborated with the Monona Public Library to swap programs with Miss Angelica. Miss Angelica came here for a couple story times, and Cindy and I went to Monona for a couple story times. We did our bigger events like the Pride Parade and the Disability Pride event, and had a couple adult-focused events as well. So yeah, I would just kind of love your feedback. I haven't really started much for summer yet. That work will begin in April. I do need to have the final list for summer programs to the school by, I believe, May 23rd, if we would like the list to go to all students in Cottage Grove. So that's kind of the time frame we're working with, about 6 weeks or so. Jennifer, Rose, and I do have a date penciled in for the Pride Parade. We just wanted to get that on the GSA's calendars at the school. So I believe that's the 5th of June.
I didn't know we were able to do that.
We just kind of penciled
That's
it
good
in,
to
but
know.
we haven't really been
Okay,
planning it at all.
okay. I wasn't sure that we were able to move forward with that, so that's really good to hear.
It aligns with our mission, vision, core values.
Yeah.
So- oh my gosh, I'm against the rules. No, that aligns with our mission, vision, core
Yours.
values.
Something happened to Mike.
It aligns with our mission, vision, core values and our DEIA BC, so it should move forward. I also agree with moving forward with the Disability Pride that we've done the last handful of years too. I think that those are kind of two staples that need to continue happening. I'd really like to see Curious Critters continue this summer again. I like using, the different locations that we have around town. I'm a big fan of series, and so I'd like to, and obviously I'm a huge fan of STEM and would like to see Brains continue throughout Cottage Grove. I think that and I know we're going to talk about our STEM collaboration and how that can maybe continue, but I'd like to see that as an offering to the youth of Cottage Grove.
Tracy, I have a question for you. Are these summer numbers pretty comparable to what they break down to throughout the school year in terms of, I'm looking and thinking in terms of like adult programming versus kid programming.
We're definitely heavy on kid programming in the summer,
Okay,
just with kids being home. At least we were the past 2 summers.
okay. And I'm looking too even at like attendance. Would you say that it's not as if we have drastically different attendance at a program, at adult programs in the summer versus throughout this, like it's pretty steady throughout the whole year? There's not a big difference in the summer?
I would say that's accurate for
Okay.
adult attendance. There are a few other things that are just have placeholders on the calendar. So Distillery, we said we would continue to do the 3rd or 4th Thursday of the month in the summer. We saw that the attendance really tapered down with Distillery in the fall. That's probably the one exception to what Megan was asking about. We also did book Zoo to You program on June 12th. You'll remember that has been a Friends event historically, and we've taken that over.
Okay.
That's been paid for, so that's booked. One thing we talked about last year, so last year was the first year that the village board had a proclamation for Juneteenth and Pride. And I put this in my calendar last year to think about for this year, but we had talked about maybe doing some kind of program around the flag raisings at Village Hall. Some kind of Juneteenth program when the flag is raised, some kind of Pride acknowledgement when the flag is raised.
Do we still have options for Historical Society talks that we could bring? Like,
I think we have one Badger talk left, and we've used both Historical Society
okay,
talks.
so maybe a Badger talk in the summer,
Mhm.
and if there's something.
And I will continue to do BAT programs because those are actually very popular and I love them, so that's not going anywhere. What about the collaboration with Monona Public Library? I haven't talked to them at all.
Is it something that we could also see if McFarland would be interested in?
Their summer schedule is pretty well booked and they don't have
Yeah.
much wiggle room. I
Okay.
think Monona Public Library generally has more flexibility with their staffing structure.
Yeah, I think if they're interested. I don't know if we repeat the programs that we took over there, which I'm fine with doing.
Mhm.
But-
And then have Angelica do Curious Critters.
I also thought the shipwrecks and the insect ambassadors, the UW entomology department, does a fantastic job. And the shipwrecks that I introduced, I think people really seemed interested about the possibility of another one with like a slightly different angle.
That would have been the third program that Ann Mosier has done with us. She did Shipwrecks, she did a fish story time the first year,
Did you do Great Lakes?
and Great Lakes.
Which was so good.
That was the adult program.
Yeah.
That was excellent.
Mhm.
So that's an adult program that we could easily repeat again. I think that was the challenges facing the Great Lakes.
Yeah, it was really good. What about the teen writing workshop?
You know, we had 4 or 5 teens make it through the 3-part series and write
Mhm.
their short little manuscript. It's a larger expense, but it is nice. I do have a contact at MG21 that was interested in facilitating Dungeons and Dragons as of like last fall.
Yes.
Dungeon.
I believe that's a
That's been-
goal, right?
yes.
Like that has been requested.
Multiple times.
Yes.
So
None
maybe
of us
that would
can
be
help
a better.
facilitate that 'cause
Maybe that would be a
is-
better focus for teens.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you all saw this on the Moms and Dads page today. I don't know if she's in Cottage Grove or Monona, but there's a local woman who just wrote a YA fantasy
Yes.
novel.
I don't know anything about it either, but I saw that.
She seems pretty serious about it, and maybe we could do some kind of mini like teen author talk with her book, or I think it's a middle grade book. Target that age group.
I think the Dungeons and Dragons needs to be.
We gotta figure out
Pursue
something.
it
We need to
if
talk
it's
to someone who
possible.
knows about that and
Yeah.
figure out what would be a good format or what would be appealing to that age group that is interested in that. Because that's something that's come up. My other question I was gonna ask too is like, was there anything else from the survey that people have requested that we haven't?
We pretty much have checked all
We've
the
checked all
boxes
those-
from the
okay.
survey.
I agree about the Dungeons and Dragons. I know my son, who will be 12 in August, we had reached out last summer about him participating in the Monona Library one, and it was full, and there was a wait list, so I think that could be really helpful. And also, I don't know if, I know he does D&D after school at GDS, and I'm drawing a blank on the moderator's last name.
Jennifer Bull.
McLaughlin.
Oh.
Nope, Matt McLaughlin is fantastic, and he is also, I think, an MGHS teacher, if I'm not mistaken. I know he also works with like gifted and talented, but, oh, yeah. I wonder if he might be interested.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That would be
The
great.
person that I was talking to is a high school teacher at MG21. I don't remember their name.
I would talk to both of them. I mean, especially in the summer when people are more busy, like traveling and that kind of stuff. And if we can get a
Double
couple
coverage.
adults that are interested in helping with it or can at least guide what it is. Like most of
We don't
us
know.
up here have no idea what we're talking about. So, the story time with the superintendent last summer, is there another, like, do we want to do some kind of other, like, story time with some kind of local celebrity type thing? Something,
PTO.
Back
not
to
the
school.
PTO. Or back to
Yeah,
school,
like the president.
something.
President of the PTO.
Be quiet.
Or the principals, if the
The principal-
principals did a
so, I
story
mean-
time at each one of their schools or something, or the 3 elementary schools.
Anything. And I guess I wasn't even necessarily thinking of a school person, but like, is there, story time with someone else again, seeing how popular the story time or the sleepovers are at like the fire department and the police department and those kinds of things, like story time with one of somebody else.
In the school buses with Nelson.
Ah.
Is that what Monona does?
Oh, I
They
don't know.
do something with the bus. I talked to the new public works director last year about doing something with snowplows. And she was interested in having the kids of Cottage Grove name a snowplow this year, which could maybe happen towards the end of summer, beginning of the fall, before they're actually needed.
Can you talk a little bit about August? Because I know that's a slow month just in general for libraries across the nation. But do you feel like, I know last year we had programs. I don't know if, and
It's definitely
they
sparse
were-
last year.
Yeah,
I
and
was
so
gone.
should there be a lot of effort put into August, or
keep
just
it
kind of a
light?
couple routine?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have the movement story time.
We won't have
We,
movement.
we should have
Oh,
movement
I was gonna
story
say, okay.
time. And another Curious Critters story time.
Will you still continue with the family meetups? That's low effort, but
Yeah, nobody really came to those, but we could have a different group of young parents.
bookmobile celebration,
There is a date on the
Okay.
calendar for that.
and the grilling in the Grove.
That's in May this year.
Okay.
With Dave Peterson. Is it July? I know we have a date on the calendar for the bookmobile celebration. JP is going to be our DJ this year. If you have any requests, start making your playlist.
I don't
Taylor
remember
Swift.
volunteering
Oh,
for that.
you did.
Very much voluntold, but no, I was going to say with that, we'll have to have some more intentional conversations about the music there because I heard lots of feedback that was way too loud.
Yeah, the DJ that we've had the last couple of years is out of our budget this year, so we won't be pursuing that. What do you all think about doing something around the flag raisings for Juneteenth and Pride? For Juneteenth specifically, I think we need to reach out to members of the Black community to see what could be done and who might be interested in leading something. Same thing with the queer community.
So with Juneteenth, I was looking at it, falls on a Thursday. So I'm not sure about timing with schedule on that. I can't recall when they usually raise the flag for that as well.
I
But
think it just went up on Juneteenth last year, if I remember correctly, and then the pride flag went up as soon as Cindy had the motion proclamation approved.
so I think this is one of those that, again, with our initiatives in terms of DEIA, et cetera, that this could be a great educational opportunity. So I would encourage us to think something a little bit more intentional, a little bit of that celebration, educational element piece. That also then puts a burden on us. Like, if we want to do that, then who is enough of an expert to lead that type of conversation without putting a burden on that community? Maybe a future note, this could be one of those UW type events, because I know quite a few experts that are there that would be more than happy to have a conversation that would be open to all ages. But I know we're booked out with that. Sorry, that's a lot of questions, but it's food for thought.
There is a Black student organization at the high school who I had made contact with early last year, and they were just kind of starting to form and figure out who their student advisor is, so I could swing back around to that group. That would be the first week after school is out. I don't know if that's good or bad for them, for students. I'll put some feelers out there, knowing that it's not on us to lead something like that on behalf of that community.
That sounds good.
Okay. Another kind of fun storytime idea that came up when Cindy and I were at Drumlin a few weeks ago. The older folks got really excited when I was telling them about Teddy Bear Sleepover at the EMS station. And so I thought maybe we could take story time to them, bring the toddlers and the preschoolers to Drumlin residences, and the seniors and the kiddos could do something together.
I like that idea. I've seen that done at other communities, and usually I've seen some pretty good interaction in there, even if it's just the rest of the families of those residents coming in, does open it up and changes the vibe a little bit from a normal kind of family get-together at those communities. Or also those that might not have a family nearby.
Exactly. Or grandkids at all.
Yeah, add that to your list.
Okay.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the summer STEAM?
Yes. So last year we did 5 STEAM programs as part of Playground Camp from 2 to 3 on Wednesday afternoons, kind of in the middle of summer. It was very well received, but it was a pretty wild and rambunctious group, and I think that maybe alienated some of the other kids in the community that weren't part of the playground camp. So we talked about at previous meetings, looking for other alternatives, continuing with that series, but other alternatives for venue and time. So one thing Cindy, Megan, and I were chatting about earlier was seeing if we could do something like that during one of the bookmobile stops. Probably Wednesday night, because people are less likely to be out of town. And we already know that there's a captive audience of people going to the bookmobile, and it might kind of might jive better with our goals of promoting literacy and education for all.
I would agree with that. I think that it's a better location. It'll be more focused. It won't be as loud. But it gives us, I think it gives the community a little bit more access to it.
I also think if you're doing it later, then you're opening it up to people who are not working during the day, who could bring their kids at 4:30, 5 o'clock, 6:30, whatever the time. I don't even know the bookmobile time offhand, but, bookend it with that. And yeah, I agree.
And maybe the Dublin Park location would be better because there is a shelter in case of rain. That's one downside to not doing it at Playground Camp, is not having an air-conditioned, climate-controlled space for bad weather, but maybe that's okay.
Were most of them done outside last year?
All but 1 or 2. There was a really hot day.
Oh, that's right.
I think it was
Okay.
Aldo Leopold Nature Center, where we
Okay.
moved it into the hallway in front of the gym.
When does the bookmobile come to Dublin?
That's a little early. That's their first stop on Wednesdays, isn't it?
Okay.
Maybe
I
that's
would
too
almost
early.
do like an after dinner.
Okay.
stop.
Right.
So maybe
like
the pig
6
is the best
o'clock,
option
yeah.
then.
Yes. And again, if the weather is that terrible, it's not gonna have a huge draw anyway, probably, so.
And most of
Yeah.
the people we bring in for STEM come as part of outreach from the university department, so they generally aren't a cost to us. So we aren't, losing out on our fees or stipend that we pay.
Current schedule for the bookmobile is 5:45 at the pig to 7:45.
I think
So maybe like 6 to 7.
Yeah, can you reach out to John and see if they would be interested in that? Because I know that they have some of their other arts and crafts that they do.
And he might have some ideas for different performers or presenters that he's wanted to bring in that he hasn't been able to in the past, and we might have an easier time getting. Okay. That reminds me, now that I'm thinking of the bookmobile, we also have the Hula Hoopers booked for an outdoor program on June 18th. They're from the Madison Circus Space. They're going to teach kiddos how to hula hoop. Well, if anybody has any more ideas that pop in your head between now and after spring break time, please just email them to me.
Sorry, I'm just gonna call out, you said that's the June 18th?
Yes,
Juneteenth is the next day.
yes.
So just calling that out. I think it's still very doable, but
We also, June 18th is also the date that we're holding for the bookmobile celebration as well. So that might be, you're right, that's a busy week, but doable. It's the first week after school is out, so there's no playground camp or summer school that week, so people will be looking for things to do.
Any other direction for Tracy?
Like I said, send any wild and crazy ideas my way, please.
Move on to communications and miscellaneous business, which is consider approval of vouchers, which are linked in the agenda. Any questions or comments?
I move that we approve the bills and vouchers.
Seconded.
All right, there's a motion by Megan and a second by Eric. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. We have no reports. I really don't have anything on, in my president's report. I would just say that project page and capital campaign for the library referendum are on the village website. The capital campaign is a little over $535,000 right now in contingent pledges. And again, the best place to go is the website. There's early voting, and April 1st is the election. We have no friends reports. Our next meeting will be April 16th. Potential, if the referendum does pass, that we would bring back the facility subcommittee at that point in time at 5 and 6 o'clock. I have future agenda items as being revisiting our strategic plan. So depending on which way the referendum goes, I think the first steps that we could take in our April meeting would be to revisit our plan and goals and kind of maybe reset in either direction. I don't know if anyone else has any other future agenda items they'd like to add. Okay. Otherwise, item 15.
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second. Okay. Motion by Megan, second by Ally. Non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.